Okay, so the phlegmatic people are peace-oriented. They are slow, restrained, and ephemeral in their reactivity. Dispassionate people. Dispassionate people. What are the positive tendencies of the phlegmatic? He exhibits a scientific approach to reality. Scientific approach. He's an excellent listener, has great empathy for others. He has a strong sense of obligation and cooperation. He possesses a hidden will of iron. He's constant, loyal, and persevering. He is not easily insulted and provoked to anger. He can stay calm under pressure. So these are the positive tendencies, biological tendencies of phlegmatic people. Rational, scientific, dispassionate approach to reality. These are very important strengths. When every time there is in Africa a conflict between tribes, we go to Finland to look for someone, a typical phlegmatic Finn, and we send him to Africa, and in a week, everything is resolved. Because in a week, with his dispassionate approach to reality, everybody agrees with him. Everybody agrees. So these are very important people. I mean, they play a very important role. So their strength is scientific, dispassionate, rational approach of reality. And this is very important in business. When you create a business, with time you need to have a lot of people that are phlegmatic if you want to have sustainability. Because you have to bring rationality, a lot of rationality in an organization if you want stability, if you want success on the long run. At the beginning, you have very much choleric, melancholic people, melancholic with an idea. You know, the great idea that breaks the status quo, it's the melancholic. Then you have the builder, the manager, the one that builds the system on the foundation of that idea. This is the choleric. Then after you have the sanguine who bring people together. You bring people together around this beautiful project. Then after you'd better have a lot of phlegmatic inside, because you need to have this stability over time. And this stability is brought by rationality, science. So these are very important people. We need them everywhere. But they have negative tendencies. He loves the status quo. He loves security and routine. He is indecisive and terrified of doing things wrong. He wants to avoid conflict at all costs. He feels a deep-rooted unease about asserting himself, and he's prone to passiveness. The key things, the key problem with the phlegmatic is going to be the status quo. Phlegmatic people, they like things the way they are. They don't want wars. They don't want changes, because a change is a war. They like things the way it is. They don't want to change stuff. So the status quo, the routine, it's the normal, I would say, environment for a phlegmatic. I would say if you find a lot of managers among the cholerics, if you find a lot of artists among the melancholics, if you find a lot of people in communication, in companies, in the communication department, among the sanguines, or the salespeople, you will find a lot of engineers with a phlegmatic temperament. The great majority of people of science, the immense majority of people of science are phlegmatic by temperament. The status quo, analysis, peace, dispassionate, rational, scientific. But the status quo is going to be this challenge for these people. Look, in terms of prudence, they are very good at deliberation. The phlegmatic tends to have a great deal of common sense and mental balance. It tends to be reflective. It tends to exhibit a scientific, dispassionate, and realistic approach. It tends to be clear, concise, and thoughtful. So these are very pleasant people in terms of deliberation. They deliberate very easily, without passions, without emotions, scientifically. But at the same time, they have difficulties to make decisions. The phlegmatic tends to be indecisive and terrified of doing things wrong. They are no good at decision making. They are good at deliberation, thinking. It's good to ask advice from them. Very good, especially if you are melancholic or a choleric. You better go to those phlegmatic people to get an advice from outside. But they will not make the decision for you. Courage. The difficult point in courage is going to be audacity, boldness. He tends to be apathetic and slothful. He loves the status quo, security, routine. He is indecisive and terrified of doing things wrong. Difficult for him to be bold. Very hard. But it's easy for him to practice endurance. He tends to possess a hidden will of iron. I lived in Finland 18 years. The majority of Finns have a very strong will, but it's hidden. It's not like the choleric people. The choleric are extrovert people, so they have an energy that you see immediately from outside. The phlegmatic people are introvert people, so they have a very strong will, but this will is inside. Is really inside. He tends to possess a hidden will of iron. He tends to be patient with difficult people and situations. He tends to be constant and persevering. My experience in Finland has been very clear. Finns have a lot of difficulties to be bold. They just cannot. They are not. Audacity is a real challenge for them. But they are very endurant. Very, very endurant. So it's really a reality. It's a biological reality of phlegmatism.